Okay, last week kind of sucked. I did not upload really any training past this session last week, so let's go ahead and start off this week a little bit stronger. Shown here my last two warm-up sets at 385 and 425 for singles. After a weekend of being a college kid, doing a little bit of excessive partying and then working outside, I am very surprised with how this went. I also got this session in pretty early. As you can see, it's still dark outside. I was really surprised that 440 for a set of 5 moved as well as it did. We are again 10 pounds up from last week for a submax set of 5. I'd call this probably around an RP 8.5 as far as, I don't know, just fatigue and technical breakdown and technical consistency relative to the weeks prior. I'm really happy with this. I think that as I transition into 4s next week, I don't know, I'll be good for some bigger stuff. I think I'm just going to go again with another 10-pound jump, maybe 15, since we're supposed to hit that RPE 9, and then dial back down for 4 starting the next block. Shown there was a set of 460 for my back-off single. I'm pretty pleased with how that went. Shown here, we did 275 for the 5 sets of 5 on Larson press. Also, nothing to write home about. That felt hard. Moved into belt squat, tried to take a narrower stance there at the beginning, did not like how that felt at all. This kind of felt a little bit more awkward than normal today. I'm not stressing about it too much. My squats have still really been ticking along, so I don't really see the need to adjust anything, despite the fact that maybe they could progress a little bit better if I really nailed this down and made it as hard as possible. But I think, I don't know, I think it's going fine at the moment. Glute ham raise. I am very content with where this is at. I was able to keep a neutral hip, which is important, I think. That's kind of what I've been working on and justifying myself not adding weight week to week on these just yet, but I think next week we're going to go ahead and hold a 10-pound plate and just start to introduce progressive overload to this movement, despite the fact that I think my feet were set just a little bit too far back on that locking mechanism. I'll probably bump that forward a little bit next week. Also added a new movement. My starting position and lockout on my sumo deadlifts are getting gradually worse over time, and I think that just introducing a glute isolation movement is probably the way to keep track of that and tighten it up, since the glutes are the main extensor of the hip, and at the bottom of the deadlift and at the top of the deadlift are really where I want to make sure that my hips are nice and close to the bar. And so instead of adding in like a weird conjugate style movement to address my weak point, I think that I'm just going to, continue to practice the competition movement that I'm trying to improve and see if this glute isolation movement makes any kind of difference. That way I know whether or not my glutes are actually the issue before I go and add in a bunch of weird banded pulls and stuff to make things harder at the top. Then moved into just kind of leg and arm stuff. Got in some curls, always, some tricep skull crushers that were kind of awkward, and those single leg presses. These were awkward because I tried to just jump 10 pounds from last week in the same rep range. Would not recommend it on a smaller muscle group or a single joint isolation movement. It was pretty tough. That was a big percentage, and I could have thought that out a little better. But anyways, that's all for this week. I'll let this play out. See you next time.